city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and this is March 19th, YC126, and this is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going? Settle on in. We got stuff to talk about. It is Monday, the 19th. This morning, at least my time this morning, at 1400 Eve, pretty big, or the latest live event happened. I'm not going to oversell it. What we are watching over here is actually the footage from the CCP live stream that occurred around at that time of the convoy. What I want to do today is talk about that, a little bit about what happened, what it might mean, and maybe some of the background information about the people who were involved, because that's what I do here. I put Eve into context for my fellow Empyreans. Chemeltech, Oscillert, Intaki Bank. What the hell is all this about? And what does it do? What does it have to do with anything? And most importantly, why did any of this happen, right? What was it meant to mean? And while we have some pretty solid guesses as to what that is, I think that there's plenty of room for tinfoil too. And then after that, I do want to also go over my top tips for new players starting out in Eve in 2024. I have a couple of new tips as a kind of a this year's follow-up to last year's returning to Eve. Try this first. So we're going to hopefully get to both of those main topics today. But yeah, first of all, I just wanted to say, how you guys doing? It's not Monday. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday. This is what happens when my life is like as complicated as it is. I like how nobody corrected me either. You guys just let me go ahead and say it was Monday. Everybody jot that down. I was like, wait a minute. No, wait. I don't stream on Mondays. Wait. Hold on. Nice. So as we can see, like, the footage showed the Chemeltech convoy. The Chemeltech convoy, you honestly thought it was Monday? Well, you know, easy to believe me. Oh! Before I jump too far into it, I don't know if Sheesh is here. Sheesh, are you here? I want to know if I'm embarrassing you live or not. Now he's going to hide. Sheesh was very kind this morning. He gifted 5 memberships during, like, hours before the pre-show. So, yeah, he was just chilling out. Either way, I will say it is his birthday today. So happy birthday to Sheesh. Thank you so much for your gifts and everything. To me, that's not how birthdays work, but, you know, whatever. I'll get you sorted in game, I think. So, thank you very much for that, and happy birthday to Sheesh. Anything else going on? All right. So jumping into, let's talk about what actually happened today, first and foremost. So as we can see, you know, there was a fairly sizable, there are people at every step of this process. Actually, let me take a step back. A week ago, or last week, there was a series of Chris Chip loot stuff that dropped that gave fragments of data about an upcoming secure transportation from the Chemeltech station in Oscillert to the Intaki Bank station in Syndicate. We'll talk about why all this was happening after the fact, but the point of the matter is that everyone was given plenty of warning that this was going to be happening at 1400 today. So, needless to say, plenty of people were out with bells on. The vast majority of the people, from my understanding, at least at first, were camped. Oh, no, spoilers. Hold on. The original thought was that the convoy would have to travel through PF-TAC. PF-TAC is one of the really, really rare systems where it goes directly from Gallente Highsec to Nullsec. And ironically, part of the reason why this is because of the formation of the syndicate. Sorry, I got distracted by something on the video. So the original form up was like they thought that they were going to go through here, but they actually ended up going through Lowsec into Old Man Star and ended up in Marathon. Okay? So let's go ahead and... They had an escort of almost, I think, exclusively eating comm ships. So you can actually see this is... Now, there's a lot of players mixed up in this too, but all of those eating comm ships are actually NPC actors. We see them move, and they travel to Old Man Star. Old Man Star is the first low-sec system. The theory was, or what I think might have happened was, from my understanding, they thought that most of the people would be stacked up in the obvious route and in PF-TAC. And so I assume that they were doing this as a way of trying to like sneak around. It's really hard to say though, but either way, they didn't actually make it that far. As like tons of ships landed. But isn't there a Highsec only route between Kimmeltech and PF? Yes. Yeah. That's the point is that it goes directly from contiguous Highsec directly into PF-TAC. PF-TAC is adjacent to Highsec, which makes it extremely rare. But either way, they didn't. So they came here. Where is it? Are they going to... Breaking Capsuleers, engaging fleet. I mean, obviously they had this prepared, right? Like, all of these tickers, all the stuff. Now, they probably could have had a set of tickers in the event that people got away. But this is one of those events that I think that, you know, like, people often accuse CCP as saying that certain things are scripted. And while that has been true in the past on a lot of things, or on several things, this is closer to what people really kind of mean when they say it's scripted, in the fact that it's kind of a foregone conclusion, right? Like, if anyone actually thought that this convoy was going to successfully make it to Syndicate, you were pretty naive as a player. So, or incredibly, you know, optimistic. I did see some people trying to crap on Fraternity for basically screwing up the fun thing for everybody by bringing a bunch of nightmares. But come on, man. If it wasn't them, it would have been somebody else. Of course they're involved, especially since Fraternity's been deeply involved with Angel Cartel as well. So, but it does lead to question of like, what is happening. Now, I actually honestly believe that CCP probably had plans, right? Like, if this convoy had gone a different way, they probably could have had it play out the other way too. Oh, was it Snuff that was in the Nightmares and Fraternity was in CFIs? Okay, well, fair enough. Well, yeah, they would have if they went to PF-TAC. But the point of the matter is that it was destroyed fairly quickly as kind of surprised nobody, right? Here is an image from that attack where we can see that local is at like several hundred people. There are still other people coming at this point, but there's already 300 people in local, and that's with a lot of people out of position because they thought that the route was going to go a different way. So everybody's having to, frantically come over here to engage. And yet you can still see that there's a lot going on this grid. And ultimately, we see all of the Chemeltech ships. I'm pretty sure 100% of them were destroyed. Now, they obviously got on kills too, but this is just looking at losses. I looked at all of the losses. All of the people involved, all the characters that are involved in this do not have any history that I was able to find. They have no kill history. They have no lore history that I can find. However, each of the kills had in their cargo bay a bunch of partially corrupted Chris chips, which are these doodads that they've been dropping that provide the pieces of the videos, right? Like, so the last week's Chris chips is what led us to know about this convoy in the first place. And that leads to this. So there was a video. Actually, let me pull up the video. There's a really good video that was made by Winter. Now I can't remember who made this image. Oh no. Wait. And now I can't find the video either. Oh, whatever. Hold on. So this is the video from last week. And it talks about the convoy. See, it's issued on the 14th, but there's information about how it's going to be conducted on the 19th at 1400. And maybe this particular piece doesn't actually have all of the pieces. It's an older video. Either way, we have this one today. This was assembled by Winter on the Arataka Research Consortium video Discord. And we can see the details of that here. So let's look at these a little bit closer. Upwell Consortium, Building Dreams, Cloning Optimization. This document outlines the multifaceted approach to achieving an optimal balance between performance enhancement and ethical considerations. Objective, create versatile, efficient clones capable of performing a wide range of tasks across various environments, minimizing costs of manufacture and logistics, subsequently maximizing output. Design parameters. Moderate musculature and balanced physique. Ensures physical capability without compromising agility or requiring excessive energy intake. Enhanced cardiovascular and respiratory systems for increased endurance and adaptability to varied environmental conditions. Robust skeletal structure. Offers durability while minimizing injury risks. Immune system optimization. As an optimized immune system with potential for engineered enhancements, reduce disease impacts and recovery times. Neural efficiency. Enhanced neural pathways for quicker learning, better memory retention, and faster decision-making would make clones highly adaptable and capable across a range of tasks. Stress tolerance. Mental resilience to stress and environmental pressures is crucial for maintaining high performance in challenging and dangerous situations. Radiation toxin testing. Minimizing health risks in hazardous environments. Metabolic flexibility. A metabolism that can efficiently adapt to varying nutritional inputs and fasting conditions would ensure clones remain effective even in situations where supply lines are compromised. Standardized physical size. Simplifies logistics and maximizes compatibility with standardized equipment. Uniform blood type. Streamlines medical logistics, particularly for emergency transfusions. Engineered sterility. Ensures resources on workforce sustainability without complexities of reproduction. Psychological support systems to minimize mental health complications and suppress all undesirable emotional challenges. Lifecycle management addresses potential and, I'm going to guess, end of service and retirement through doctrine and by creating incentives for contract extension. Conclusion: the attributes selected for the clones represent a holistic strategy, incorporating physical robustness, cognitive excellence, environmental adaptability, and psychological resilience. These factors have been critically evaluated to ensure that they remain within acceptable ethical and operational limits, thereby supporting a sufficient recruitment rate and overall clone effectiveness. So this is what they're up to, right? They're working on this new clone system, and we can see that there's these 2 clone people down here, right? And you can see them up close here. So what's going on? Who's Chemeltech? What does that have to do with Upwell? And why is this all happening? And also, you know, there's a whole bunch of these little logos at the bottom. Who are all they, etc., etc. So let's jump into it, okay? First of all, what do I think is going on here? Let me take a step back. So let me think about how I want to present this now. Should I talk about what I think this is all about, and then we go over some of the lore history? We should probably do that. So the normal interpretation of what I'm looking at here, the thing that I think is the safe thing to conclude from this, is that this is developing the lore and the setup for Vanguard. The big issue here is that Vanguard is the name of the Deathless's forces. So while the game is called Vanguard, the Vanguard itself are actually only half of the equation. Much like in Valkyrie, the Valkyries were only half of the equation, right? So, not synths. So, no, I don't think synthetic people. But what I think this is doing is, if you see, like, when CCP first introduced the insurgencies, the thought was that the primary force against them was going to be Edencom. But people really didn't like that idea, and so they shifted over to Upwell. This makes a lot of sense, as we'll explain later, but because Upwell and Edencom are very much in bed with each other. But Upwell has more or less taken on the burden of addressing the Deathless situation, and the insurgencies, and the Vanguard. Okay, it was a Mordu convoy that was attacked. It was the Arkhambine soldiers that defected from the Mordu, etc., etc. So what we're seeing here, most likely than not, is in response to the new and present threat of the Vanguard, we see Upwell developing their new clone soldiers. And this ties into what we saw last week. So, was it last week? Oh yeah, no, it was the news article, right? So in the Vanguard news, is it this one? Yeah, the question is, what will the rest of New Eden do? And I speculated that this event was going to start to answer that. And I really think that that's what this is. Upwell Consortium's clone optimizations. Okay, so who are Upwell Consortium, and what does this have to do with anything? Let's go all the way back. If we can go to my Notion. On the Convocation Notion, I have a lore section, and you can there's an Upwell Consortium section. And we can kind of see from the very, very beginning, okay? Actually, we're going to go even further back than Upwell, because it was one of the things that was asked to me today was, one of the questions I got was, who are the Intaki Syndicate And how does it have anything to do with all of this, with the Yantey people? So the Yantey are the people that come from the planet of Yantey, and they are very religious and relatively pacifistic people in general. So when the Caldari when the Gallente Caldari War began and the Gallente bombarded the Caldari Prime, there was a bunch of Yantey that took exception to this and wanted to have nothing to do with it, and they were exiled from the Federation. They left the Federation and their planet of Yantey and went out deep into Nullsec, and they founded their own society known as the Syndicate, and took over that area of space, and now they are known as the Yantey Syndicate to this day. And they also own and operate the Yantey Bank, which is basically the neutral bank of EVE Online. You know, it doesn't matter how criminal you are, you can put your money through the Yantey Bank. And Mordu, actually, Mordu's Legion was a bunch of mostly Yantey who defected from the Federation and joined the Caldari during the war. And then after the war, were treated so poorly by the Caldari that the military commander of that unit said, screw you guys, and went off into space and formed his own group, and that's Mordu's Legion. Okay, so the Mordu's Legion always has had connections with the Yantey people and Yantey Syndicate. Yeah, I think that's about it for that. Next, there is a guy named Yanu. Yanu was a Galentian who found a giant rock of Spotamine in Nullsec a long time ago, and it was so he managed to keep it hidden from the Gallente Federation. So then they were able to sell, he was able to make a ridiculous amount of money off of this mining find. Okay. And he founded his own corporation that was designed to do this mining operation and in the area around it once he struck gold, as it were. And that group is called Outer Ring Excavations or okay. So eventually Yantey and being a corporation didn't have any defense of their own. And so Yantey, with all of his money, hired Mordu's Legion to be Or's security detail, right? Other people did this too. For a long time, the system of Yantey was guarded by the Mordu because it was considered to be neutral between the Caldari and the Gallente. More on that in a little bit. Any rate, so Yantey finally retires and hands it off to his buddy. But his buddy isn't as good at managing things, especially the political situation, as he is, and uses Mordu's Legion as a weapon against, I think it was the Angel Cartel, but it basically ran up against the Serpentis. And in the end, Mordu got upset because of the fact that they were used that way. It really weakened the position for Outer Ring excavations, and in the end, Serpentis actually did a hostile takeover of Outer Ring excavations. This is back in 2009. So Serpentis secretly owned Or. That is until Upwell Consortium was formed. Upwell Consortium comes together, and they bring together these different corporations. Okay, we have Outer Ring not Or yet. We have Zoran Sons, Ifrin Co., Yitri, Yantey Bank, Mordu's Legion, and Kemaltech, right? And these all come together to form Upwell Consortium, which is a new group at the time in 2015 that was designed to create player structures, or more importantly, massive facilities that are for a capsuleer era, right? I.e. structures, right? Upwell structures. So this consortium is born, and it is actually controlled by this dude Yantey. All right. So Yantey shows back up as the controller of Upwell Consortium, and one of the very first things that they do is they attack the syndicate. Hold on a second. Actually, where is it? Hold on. No, hold on. Reuse this one.
Mordu's Legion and our combined forces have launched simultaneous attacks on key Serpentis-controlled ore stations across the Outer Ring region. The assaults appear to have captured all stations in swift, surgical executed operations, with most of the fighting already winding down. The same tactic was applied during all of the captures. Mordus used their fast ships to warp in and immediately throw out warp disruption fields to prevent any escapes. The importance that Mordu ships seem to have placed on destroying all ships attempting to escape somewhat contradicts the statement released by the Upwell Consortium today, stating that the main objective of the operation was to return the control of the stations and ore itself to the rightful owner and founder of ore, Yanni Sar Arteo. Once the space had been secured, shuttles carrying our combined mercenary forces warped in and entered the stations. In most cases, the station personnel surrendered without a fight. It is expected that ORE will announce it is joining the Upwell Consortium as a full partner later today. This is Lena Amber, reporting for The Scope.
All right. And of course, that was shortly followed by...
As expected, after last week's recovery of ore stations from Serpentis control, ORE has joined its liberator, the Upwell Consortium. Despite the overwhelming success of the operation, carried out by Mordu's Legion on behalf of Upwell, there are persistent rumors that the few Serpentis ships that managed to escape the onslaught took with them a considerable amount of valuable ore assets. Most notable are the very first blueprint copies of the Endurance ice mining frigates, developed under ORE's Frostline brand. The Endurance, seen here during its trials, is designed to mine ice in extremely hostile environments. Cloaking optimizations allow it to operate unprotected in null-sec and even shattered wormhole systems. It is also able to fit a new type of extremely efficient ice mining laser, developed in conjunction with the Endurance, providing the first frigate-class ice miner. Scope sources claim that ORE expects the Endurance to do well when it hits the market, fulfilling the needs of the more adventurous entrepreneurs. However, the mining tech company still has great concerns that the Serpentis are in possession of some of their most advanced technology. This is Alton Hovery, reporting for The Scope.
And this is what led to the... Hold on. Yeah, this is what leads to the dossier. We've talked about this many times, but there's that dossier that we believe Leopold the Peacock got from the FIO and about the Serpentis capital buildup, and handed it over to Upwell, which Upwell then starts to attack the different Serpentis stations. And people get upset about that, and so that leads to...
Recently surfaced Serpentis capital-class blueprints have caused a stir in military circles across New Eden. Based on Gallente Federation Navy designs, the Vehement-class Dreadnought, Vendetta-class supercarrier and the Vanquisher-class Titan deliver more firepower than their original Gallente counterparts. In addition, they are optimized to support advanced stasis webifier and hybrid weapons technology. A well-known criminal corporation, the Serpentis, had intended to offer the blueprints to loyal Capsuleers. That plan came under fire when their shipyards were located and raided. Today, with the assistance of the Scope Network's extensive broadcasting system, Concord is now making the locations of these shipyards public, stating that all equipment and construction materials recovered by Capsuleers during raids on the shipyards to be classified as free salvage. In addition to this, again, via the Scope Network, Concord is offering various rewards for the destruction of the identified Serpentis targets, including some of the rarest Serpentis blueprints that have ever been acquired. This is Alton Havery, reporting for the Scope.
So yeah, so this kind of just sets the stage a little bit, okay? This is how Mordu, Upwell, Intaki, all those kinds of things are very much tied together, okay? So with all that in mind, we can look at... Oh, there's one other group that I want to point out, which is part of Upwell, which is the Freedom Extension Corporation. This is a Mimitar group. The only reason why I bring this up is because at the bottom of the video, there's a bunch of logos, and I had difficulty identifying the last one. I hadn't realized that that Freedom Extension had joined up, so that's what's going on there. So as I said before, this convoy really is just an internal Upwell communication, effectively, or project between the member partners. So the next thing I want to cover is a little bit about the Syndicate. So as I said before, the Syndicate left the Gallente, or they were exiled from the Gallente and took up in Nullsec and made the Syndicate. Sylphie takes over the Syndicate from her home in Poidot, which I've covered in other videos before. The important thing is that while the Intaki Syndicate are separate from the Intaki people and the planet of Intaki, they are sort of connected to it, right? And the real thing that was that's important here is that the system of Intaki is actually, or was actually, in the contested zone between the Caldari and the Gallente that was covered by the Emergency Militia War Powers Act of YC109 that created faction warfare. Is it 109? 110? I don't remember anymore. But the Emergency Militia War Powers Act, which establishes faction warfare, said that Intaki is one of the systems that are covered by that. And this was partially because of the fact that the Intaki have always been a little bit more arm's length than any of the other member states within the Federation. They have special provisions in their joining that gives them certain liberties, etc. One of which is supposed to be that the Intaki are still free people, which is why they use Mortis Legion as their security forces. That is, of course, until this.
Broadcasting live with shocking scenes of Federation ships invading Intaki and neighboring systems, this is a major developing situation amidst the current turmoil in New Eden.
My fellow citizens, the time has come for the Federation to rise and liberate Intaki, to recover what is ours. These worlds and the people of
the Caldari state are being slaughtered in this outrageous invasion. We stand ready to confront any aggression against the state, and the combined
military of the Minmatar Republic will repay our enemies in kind for this mass murder, for it is the
sacred obligation of every subject of Holy Amar to reclaim the stars and rise up for your empire.
The system of Intaki was taken by the Gallente with the Uprising expansion about 1 year ago. All right. The Gallente went in force and they tore down the TCU that was used for faction warfare, put up their own one, making it their sovereignty, and began constructing a Stargate that would link them to their more internal system of Amignon. Okay? So this was a huge deal. Now, this wasn't out of nowhere. In the system of Othanoon, the Caldari had discovered an Edencom structure was discovered doing Triglavian research above a storm planet in Othanoon, which kicked off a science race that culminated ultimately in the development of the shipcaster technology. Okay, but while they were doing that, the Caldari experimented with their own technology and built a Stargate that connected their new militia headquarters of Seminuni to the system of Othanoon. They successfully built that. They prevented the Gallente from building theirs, and therefore the Gallente redirected their gate to the system of Intaki. Now, this was seen as a huge deal. This is a complete violation of the Emergency Militia War Powers Act. This is basically the moment that the empires began spiraling into war, right? They're beginning to ignore their orders, and we have a full-scale invasion on our hands, which leads to the Caldari state taking control of the syndicate of a syndicate constellation. In response to this, the Caldari state reaches out to the Intaki the Intaki syndicate, and makes a deal with them, saying that, hey, we're going to work with you guys, and what we're going to do is, in return to this, we're going to provide security against the Federation by taking a constellation within Syndicate. So now there is a nullsec region that is owned by the Caldari. Yes, they also changed the security of Intaki from low-sec to high-sec. So the Intaki Syndicate and the Caldari are now working hand in glove, effectively, right? And out of this, we've seen a lot of development. The Caldari were also the first to develop the Shipcaster, and there has been some hints that they've been doing their own experimentations with Shipcaster and the transport technology behind it that could be related to their holdings in Syndicate. But by and large, this side of things has been pretty quiet. The spiciest thing that we have gotten out of all of this is the fact that a few months ago, in one of the world news, they announced there was a tag that suggested that bioadapted Caldari forces, or like a bioadapted soldier working for the Caldari, like a pilot, was found, showing that they were doing like Triglavian level experimentation. But that doesn't seem to be exactly what this is, okay? But my point is that there are a lot of players with their fingers in the pie of this exact situation, and it really looks like what they're setting up here is designed to help kind of fold this back in, or at least not designed to help, but like this stuff here was set up that hopefully will pay off with what's coming. All right. Let's see. And then, of course, the final big event that we have, oddly enough, we haven't actually had a scope news or a New Eden news since last December, which is this one.
A Mordu's Legion task force sent to reinforce corporate security troops on the besieged planet of Hevris 3 was ambushed by Garista's pirates last night. The task force included heavily modified Mordu's bowheads that are reported to have been outfitted to support Legion war clone unit operations. The ships carried war clone blanks, cloning bays, and materiel for ground warfare. The advanced Legion equipment is speculated to be of high value for the rumored deathless research and development efforts into cloning. Taken by surprise and overwhelmed by superior Garista's forces, the task force escorts were quickly wiped out, leaving the freighters defenseless. While the majority of the Legion fleet was destroyed in high orbit of the planet, a handful of bowhead freighters rushed towards the planet in a desperate attempt to deploy the Mordu's troops to the surface before their destruction. Only one ship managed to reach low orbit, but heavily damaged and under limited control, the bowhead crashed down on a remote part of the planet. The crash site is likely to become a priority target for pirate forces. Reports are circulating that the Deathless Circle is deploying units of experimental clone troops, designated as Vanguard, to the planet. With the decision to send lightly defended freighters into a pirate insurgency zone, highlighting how overstretched Mordu's Legion and Upwell are, the surviving Legion troops on the surface of Hevries 3 are preparing for the first strike by the Deathless and his Vanguard troops. This is Alton Hovery, reporting for The Scope.
All right, so what is really going on? All right. All right, what I think is, why is this happening right now? What's going on? Well, this weekend is the Vanguard playtest. In fact, I can pull this up. Forge the Future of E-Vanguard, right? So it happens it's this weekend, right? I'm pretty sure. And with this comes two different things. One is it comes with new tasks. Sorry, three different things. New tasks, i.e. they now have mining and resource gathering, right? Yes, Thursday. Excellent. You sure it's not Monday? Every day's Monday. No, I'm just kidding. So, you know, they've got the new mining tasks, but they also have new suppression-based tasks. So, you know, previously you could only take tasks from the Garissus and the Angels, and that would increase corruption within those systems. This is now going to offer you missions that you can take that will increase suppression. And then on top of that, we see in the other news that there's just so much that I had to prepare to talk about today that I don't get it all. Here. No. So they show off this new war clone, and they say, this new Vanguard build also introduces a new war clone suit, as well as new and updated suit for NPCs. These updates aim to deepen tactical gameplay, visually distinguish Vanguard for NPCs on the playing field. So my first instinct was to be like, oh, easy peasy. That's what this is all about, right? Like this guy, this new suit is what this is all about, right? Like these new clones are the new suit. Now, that does seem like the obvious answer. However, I would like to note that, like, if we look at these suits here, which they gave us a very like specific image, we can see there is this like sideband. Hold on a second. Can I? Let me see if I can do this. Hold on. Add. Is this gonna work? Really? It's not? No. That's a boo. All right, hold on. This is officially too much work for what I'm trying to do. No. There. All right. So we can see, like, So we can see, like, there is this kind of side panel on their legs and these, like, rib effects on their sides. And we don't... Oh, no. What have I done? We don't see those here, right? We don't see any side panel there. And... sorry, this one actually has the more... This one has much more pronounced ribbing. That goes all the way to the side. And then, whereas with the other one, you can see it like comes down and doesn't go to the side. In this one, it does, it goes basically to the side, and then there is no side panel on the leg. So it doesn't look like it's the same image, or it's not the same suit. Now, this could be because, yeah, it could just be that this is like the undersuit versus the oversuit. It could also be that this is the NPC. This is the new NPC, but it doesn't necessarily represent the new suit that we're going to get. But the point of the matter is that there is a new suit at the same time that there's this new cloning tech. And there's new tasks available. And a lot of what this tech looks like is... a lot of this tech focuses on its ability to do... The thing that stood out to me is a wide range of tasks, right? This gets used multiple times during this document. And the big thing about this month's playtest is the fact that now we were going to be able to do industrial things, i.e. mine, as well as combat, which means that we're going to need clones that can do a wide range of tasks. And in addition to that, we need excuse as to why there are clone soldiers that are not Vanguard soldiers, because Vanguard soldiers won't be raising suppression. They would be raising corruption. So who's going to be accepting the suppression tasks? Well, the answer is this new clone force that Upwell appears to be developing, it would seem. So that's what it, like, on the surface, that is the simplest solution to this puzzle. Upwell Consortium is responding to the Deathless's development of a new clone army by taking the existing clone research and upping the ante to create the perfect stampable clone soldiers for themselves, so that way they can fight this fight and take on the Vanguard. All right? That is what it seems like to me. And the reason why they're introducing it right now is to kind of set up the differences that are coming this weekend. That's the surface level. All right? Now let's get a little tinfoily. So the thing is that CCP introduces a lot of things through these mechanics, right? Or through these kinds of lore events, right? Different things come out, right? You know, the development of the Stellar Transmuter led to all things like the Shipcaster, for example. But, you know, I can't think of a good example off the top of my head. But the idea being that CCP has said is that new features are going to be introduced through these ongoing storyline things. Now, we do have a winter expansion coming, and that we don't have a lot of details about that. We do know that it has to do with nullsec. However, they have kind of hinted in some ways that it's not exclusively or perhaps predominantly focused on sovereignty nullsec. They seem to be, in the past, they seem to have been saying that this is more focused on nullsec, then they will do sovereignty nullsec, which makes a lot of sense given the fact that, you know, NPC null has now been connected to Zarzak, and this new, not new, but this development from a year ago with the Syndicate region in nullsec with the Caldari. So if CCP are going to take the mechanics of, say, insurgencies and faction warfare, you know, the way to contest systems, the way to corrupt and suppress systems, all those kinds of things, if they're going to take those mechanics and expand them outward, these are the very plots that they will touch on in order to do that, right? If a Mar invades Stain, that becomes an environment that CCP can control, contain, and perform like iterations upon. If the Gallente and the Caldari fight over Nullsec and Syndicate, this is NPC Nullsec that they can test these mechanics out on before it gets extended to other places, right? So that is a big reason why they could be bringing forward all of this stuff, right? However, there is one other piece of tinfoil that I jumped on, and I heard a couple other people jumped on when they first started reading about this, these documents, which is not this year's FanFest, but last year's FanFest. I think that's how it works, right? Yeah. The first FanFest that they returned, they talked about the things that they were going to be doing. And there was one thing that they said that they were going to do that they haven't yet. Now, CCP used to say all kinds of different things at FanFest, but, you know, ever since 2015, and more certainly since they came back with FanFest, they've tried to make it so that they can, you know, if they say it, they're going to deliver it. Unless it's the art team, in which case they're going to show us what they're going to deliver in like 3 years. But regardless, one of the things that they talked about is the removal of skill training or skill attributes. You would still skill train, but the way it would work is that you just train into an unallocated pool, and then you allocate those skills to, or those skill points into whichever skills that you want in order to gain skills. That's how skill training is done as Echoes, and it's been asked for a lot of times. CCP has said that they were going to do that, but they needed to figure out things like how implants are going to work and all that stuff. All right, Ragtag. You'll see this in like 20 minutes, so welcome back to the past still. Shoot, that isn't how this works. Anywho, so isn't the blue one the NPC clone soldier from Vanguard? Which one? If you're talking about this one, yes, this is the NPC clone soldier from Vanguard. No, so the thing is that if they're working on new clones, the fact that they are developing new clone technology and it's up well could very well be an early seed that leads to other clone developments, including things like an attribute rework, right? So there you go. That's my tinfoil for the day. This on the Vanguard side of things, obviously this has to do with you know, the new clone or the new suit, the new activities, the new suppression mechanics. But I think that it still has meaning to EVE Online itself, in the fact of the forwarding of Upwell clone tech and this ongoing, very mixed relationship between Mordu, Upwell, the Syndicate, and the State. It does have Neon. It does have in-game connection. It's had in-game connections since the beginning. Every time you complete a task in Vanguard, you raise the corruption in one of the systems that are currently being invaded in invasions. The connection is there. What's being added this time is that now you'll not only be able to corrupt, you'll also be able to suppress. So the connection is limited at this time, but I honestly think that that's because if the connection was more impactful, a lot of people would have complained about it, especially up until this point, right? Because you could only corrupt up until now. So, you know, it was a very trivial amount. It really came up to like 2 or 3% out of the entire invasion or whatever, or insurgency. But yeah, no, it's been, the connection has been mechanically working since the beginning, since December. Anything else? Questions, comments, concerns, alternative theories? If you have a theory, do you think I'm right? Do you think this has to do with, do you think that this has any impact whatsoever on nullsec? Do you think that, or do you think this is just a Vanguard thing? I know that there's a lot of people that are like, you know, oh, this was such a disappointment. But honestly, I think that CCP did this really, really well. Because if you think about it, like in the past, they put out scope videos and stuff, and everybody was there. And then when nothing happened, there was a bunch of looky-loos that were like, what? I mean, like, by nothing happened, I mean, like, well, Turner was not nothing, but a lot of people thought it would be more, right? But by having this be a thing where the pieces to it dropped last week, it meant that the player base found out about it. The player base spread the information around, and those people that knew about what was going on were the ones that showed up, right? So hopefully that made it so that there were less people that thought that this was going to be the next big announcement of the next big feature or something like that, like they thought with Turner, and more realized that this isn't necessarily like, you may think it's underwhelming, but this is what living history looks like, guys. This is a thing that has happened, right? All of these other things I always talk about, where I say like, oh yeah, and then this guy's attacked, or then this system got taken, or then this da-da-da-da-da, like all of these bullet points. What happened today and the exact results of it, the details of it, is now etched in EVE Online's history and will be its narrative going forward. And the people that participated in it got to participate in it. The people who got Chris chips from this got one-of-a-kind pieces. The people, I know of one person who managed to loot those Chemeltech scientists. That makes those some of the rarest items in the game at the moment. You know, so what is the meaning of the event in regards to the empires without considering Deathless? Like, would it have been in the interest of all empires for the convoy to reach the target? I would say so. Just because, so look, Edencom and Upwell are extremely tied together. Upwell developed Edencom's ships, which is why Upwell's security forces were Edencom ships. I think that the Deathless currently exists as a threat to the empires, that all four empires are far too busy with their own internal and interconnected politics to actually deal with or address at the moment. I also think that Gallente might be in bed with the Deathless, but that's not the point. But yeah, I mean, like, as empires go, they would have been pro Upwell in this one. This did happen in EVE. Today, this happened in EVE. Oh, nope, that's not it. Yeah. This convoy went into Old Man Star and then into Marathon and then got killed. That actually happened. You can go... We can go look at the Z kill of it. So yeah. Was this a foregone conclusion? Probably. Is this going to be the next piece in this? I think that this was a really interesting way of getting people to pay attention to these particular fragments. Because, like, in the past, like, the fragments drop randomly, right, off of rats. So you'll notice that, like, a lot of the time when we show you guys these fragments, they're very cut up, right? Is this a good... Nope, that's not the good example. Like... Oh yeah, I remember now. Like... This one? No. This one. See how this one's kind of missing a giant chunk in the middle there? Well, that's because each of these chunks are actually different videos that must be found, and this whole thing stitched together, right, by the player base. The reason why that's important is because look at the difference between, and this is after a lot of assembly, and you can see there's even still 2 pieces missing here. There's 3 pieces missing on that one. I think they have gotten other pieces together before, but in contrast that to this, where there's literally only that lower right hand corner that is missing, right? And the whole rest of the footage is down. The reason why the footage is here and is so well assembled is because all of the chips dropped right then, and everybody got them right then when everybody was focusing on it. So all it took after that was just assemble, people to post them and assemble them instead of collecting them over the course of several days. So it seems to me that CCP mostly wanted to get our eyes on this document here. I'm interested to hear what Triglavians are going to do with these new events in New Eden. I mean, they have shown some interest in the events so far, but it's hard to say. Was this posted anywhere for people to know about beforehand? Like I said, the week before these pieces were dropping, when assembled, gave the information about the convoy. This is how we knew about it. So it's passed around through word of mouth, basically. Now, this is actually the second set of drops that happened, right? So basically, they added a whole bunch of Chris chips into the game. And the first video, I can't find right now. Yeah, I don't have the video fragment. I don't think I have it right now. Yeah. Either way. But what was the first video about? Oh, the first video was about mental prowess, physical prowess, and integrated assessment. It was basically about like how they were assessing candidates for physical and mental aptitude, right? And then the second one, this one, sets the time and date for the convoy, and then this one from today talks about Upwell's new cloning optimization program. Yes, then all of the former fragments as part of this drops from the insurgency rats. So when a system becomes corrupted or suppressed to at least level 3, that is when the new rats spawn, and those rats are the ones that drop the bits for at least this video. This one right here, and the other one. Hey, Jaminki, no problem. Hey, actually, you should stay tuned. Oops, sorry. I'm going to be doing a guide for new bros joining EVE Online today. First I hear about this in any sense, kind of backwards way to market something, but each their own. Well, so EVE is a living universe. This is not the first time that CCP has done this. And I think that, like, all this really should show you, if anything, is, like, when people say that lore is not happening in EVE, things are happening all the time in EVE. They just often don't get raised to the level of attention of the broader player base. So if you want to stay caught up with all of the stuff that's going on, make sure to subscribe to my channel, because this is the exact stuff that I go into. And I have gone into on many of my previous videos. So, check it out. Moving my stuff to Jita, the meeting with my corp home base. Awesome. Who'd you end up going with? It's CCP. Wait. remember back to the NPC convoys that precipitated larger happenings. Yeah, it's so the other thing to note is when CCP does tell everybody about it, a couple thousand people show up, right? Today, like 500 to 700 people showed up. And again, the problem is a lot of people that showed up to Turner felt that CCP wasted their time because it was so hyped up and through scope videos. Like, hold on a second. Let's go back to that. If I get to the thing today. Sheesh.
The Turner system's star appears to have been destabilized beyond recovery by the activity of the prototype stellar transmuter placed in orbit by the Amarr Empire. Stellar radiation emitted by the star has been fluctuating at ever shorter intervals, seemingly heading towards an imminent crescendo. Scientists raised the alarm upon calculating that the interval between radiation spikes has been decreasing in a linear manner, indicating that a terminal phase will be reached at around 1700 hours New Eden Standard on November 2nd. What exactly will happen during 100 hours New Eden Standard on November 2nd?
So there you go. Like I said, they told everybody the weekend or the week before in a scope video. Are there videos about this I can watch to catch up? Seems like it just dropped out of nowhere. Yeah, this one and others of mine. The lore speedrun is probably a good one, but I have done. Oh, the Upwell. I mean, the Upwell clone thing is brand freaking new. Like that's literally what we're covering today, right? Like Upwell. Up until this point, Upwell hasn't really been known for being super big in cloning. They do have clone facilities and stuff, but yeah, I've been talking about it. Again, I think that Upwell got kind of brought in at the last second in order to make it so that it wasn't Edencom. Where did this come from? Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's finish with this video first.
What exactly will happen during this posited terminal phase is debated, but the common consensus is that a major stellar event will take place. One leading theory is that a radiation burst and stellar mass ejection similar to that seen during the Salin incident of YC126.
So they let everybody know, and they said that the star was going to blow up. And then
the details of the disaster following the blast from the Star of Turner on November 2nd are still emerging in its aftermath. Closest to the star was the Imperial prototype stellar transmuter, understood to have destabilized the star through its experimental operations. A skeleton crew of Amarr volunteers stayed aboard the transmuter, and attempts to avert catastrophe continued until the very last moments. As it became clear that all hope was lost and the terminal phase was imminent, Marshal Zirkosh addressed the transmuter crew, thanking them for their devotion and service to the Empire, before commending their souls to God. At 1700 hours, the Star of Turner entered its so-called terminal phase of instability, and the transmuter ceased to exist. The destruction of several capsuleer structures close to the star swiftly followed. Orbiting high above the barren planet of Turner 1 is the Republic Parliament Station, which has played a crucial role in the combined efforts of Empire and Capsuleer corporations to successfully evacuate the population of Turner 1. At the time of the terminal event, only a handful of crew remained aboard the station, maintaining docking and traffic operations to ensure that the maximum number of refugees could escape. Ahead of the blast, the station's spare shield generators and power had been diverted to reinforce the structure. Unfortunately, the hastily rigged enhancements did not deflect all radiation and supercharged particles, with many systems wrecked and secondary explosions and fires breaking out. Regardless, the shielding did save most of those who sheltered in the core of the station, which remained structurally sound despite the severe damage to peripheral superstructures. The worst effects by far were felt on the surface of Turner 1. As the planet closest to the star, it was clear that this barren world would be hit by any extreme energy burst, making its evacuation a top priority. Industry workers and many settlers were lifted off to safety, with only those refusing help remaining on the planet. Principal among those remaining behind were the nomadic Minmatar clans faithfully following the teachings of Tanak Gufran, the Absolver. In a final bizarre broadcast from the surface of Turner 1, the Absolver encouraged his followers to embrace the spiritual forces about to transform the system. Turner 1 has been scorched beyond recognition by the effects of the intense radiation burst and bombardment by a wave of supercharged plasma from the star. So far, there are no known survivors from the surface of the planet. Despite many warnings as to the risks, a large number of Capsuleers placed their ships and crews at serious risk to witness what promised to be an extraordinary event. Unsurprisingly, these ships took heavy damage from the radiation burst, with shields and armor systems collapsing in seconds, leaving damaged hulls totally exposed. A number of ships were destroyed when rival Capsuleers exploited these moments of extreme vulnerability to wreak destruction on one another. The chaotic struggle in space added to the death toll of this already tragic day. It is now becoming apparent that the Turner system has been permanently affected by the extreme stellar event. The widespread destruction is almost superficial on an astronomical scale, with the local space-time environment being profoundly altered, leading to very high unstable wormhole activity. For its part, the Amar Empire has declared its Stellar Transmuter research program a success, despite the extraordinary demise of its Turner operations. Ominously, the Empire appears confident it has gathered all the data required to take their exploitation of the technology forward to the next stage of development. In the aftermath of the Turner tragedy, attention is turned to the stellar transmuters in Egmar and Vard, currently under the control of Minmatar forces. The urgent question remains whether the Republic is willing to continue experimental operations or attempt to shut them down. This is Alton Havery, reporting for The Scope.
So, the interesting thing here is that I think there is another person watching. So, first of all, I still have my, I think it was a Prospect that I was flying there, and it's named Scorched by Turner because everybody lost all of their armor, their shields got brought down to, I think, 80% hull, and all of their capacitor, which turned off a lot of cloaks during that time. So then it was kind of a bloodbath afterwards, but I managed to get out, and that ship is now called Scorched by Turner. Now, I do believe, and this is, of course, tinfoil, but I do believe that there was someone else watching Turner that day, a man by the name of the Deathless. And I think that this event is what led the Deathless to be able to find the very first Stargate, the Stargate in Turner, that would lead him to Zarzak, right? Because 1 year later, we have the Zarzak event. So, Eve... what was the last one called? Havoc.
Zarzak has been waiting. An ancient nexus, long abandoned.
He doesn't have a Concord registration, so you wouldn't.
Now ruled by the insurgents. The fearless. The deathless. Trust is rare among our kind. Yet here you are, compelled by my invincibility. invitation. I offer you a haven, a fortress, hidden from the empires. I have given it life. It feeds on me. And in return, it yields knowledge, gifts, power. Prepare your forces for chaos on the front lines. Harness the might of Capsuleers with the promise of riches. And together, we will unlock Zarzak's secrets. One by one.
There you go. So, and then I think, yeah.
Detail.
Oh, where's the Absolver? So allegedly the Absolver is dead. However, there is definitely tinfoil that he is not dead. I should definitely make sure that that's on the iceberg. The masks that that they were all wearing could have potentially saved them, especially if he had some sort of connection to the Triglavians, which he might have. But from my understanding, CCP has said that he is dead. But I also feel like that plot was set up, and from what I remember hearing from CCP at different times, I felt like they had another beat to that they never got to. Or just didn't play out in a way that we were able to get to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up again someday. But as of right now, he is MIA/dead.
Details surrounding the heist and sabotage operation in the heart of Imperium's capital system of 1DQ1 TAC-A have been emerging, as it becomes evident that trillions have been lost to this audacious act of theft and sabotage.
For those of you who do not know, on the first day of Havoc, a former Goons director turned off the Goon Swarm, or the First Imperial Palace's clone bay, and destroyed thousands of clones. It was a big deal.
Sabotage. Beyond the theft, the Imperium leadership were shocked to discover that the perpetrator had made use of his administrative rights within the First Imperial Palace Keepstar to disable all support systems for the vast cloning center housed within, dedicated to storing tens of thousands of Capsuleer.
How can a mask save you from quasar-like gamma rays? Well, okay, so two things. First of all, realize that the Triglavians were actively experimenting with personnel transport technology, and they have shown the ability to teleport organic matter as early as 2019. Okay, so if they were working with the Triglavians, it would be very possible for them to be rescued, quote unquote, as the explosion was happening. Now, the other thing is, and I've talked about this tinfoil before. Okay, let's... hold on. If I look at the masks... I act frustrated, but I love going over this stuff. 30K plus or something would have been more had the game not taken its time. What? Yeah, Triggs also survived in the Abyss where our ships cannot survive past 20 minutes. So, if we go here, we can look at the Desert Nomad mask, okay? And it says, this mask it bears all the signs of being derived from Triglavian hardware, if not itself an example of such technology. The mask itself would be proof against many hazardous environments, protecting the respiratory systems of the wearer from damage and aiding breathing, but appears to have been configured in desert fashion for use in arid and dusty environments. And then this talks about how it comes from Turner 1, right? This particular model was pulled off of Turner 1 The evident fact that Triglavian technology is the foundation of this mass design and construction is something of a puzzle, given the origin of this equipment with the desert planet nomads of the Mimitar clans of Turner 1, right? And the other thing is that, like, Turner 1, the nomads there, like the Absolver, didn't like the Empires, didn't trust technology, or like the technology the Empires brought, but for some reason has this Triglavian technology, which is really weird. But if we look at the other mask that was released at the exact same time, the proven bioadaptive mask that was given out to people who won in the Abyss, this says something even more interesting, which says, a product of cultural long practice in the art of surviving in hazardous environments, this bioadaptive mask is designed to enclose, protect, and augment the primary respiratory orifices while leaving the rest of the wearer's face relatively uncovered. This sophisticated device is equipped with an internal force fields generators able to provide significant full coverage protection from dangerous environments or even the cold embrace of vacuum should the need arise. That is why I think that it is incredibly possible. Like, they introduced these masks and the Turner guys like just 2 weeks or whatever before Turner blew up. So it seems very odd to have these details and have them not go deeper into it at some point. Yeah, the offlining of the bay was done to near shutdown, and correct. So the process of destroying the clones didn't finish, and therefore a lot of the clones were still salvageable. Correct. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely trillions. Anything else? Did I cover all this sufficiently? Was there any questions remaining? Did I miss a beat? Because I think that that's pretty much what's going on right now, as far as that goes. I think that's it. All right. Next, I can buy it if they got teleported away, but not that tiny COVID mask provide enough shield to protect them from a supernova type thing. Right? Yeah. That's why, like literally, the thing that was being talked about and experimented with at that exact time was Triglavian personnel transport technology. Like, that is what the Othanoon side was all about, and that's what. So, like, the shipcasters as we know it is a combination of the Triglavian stellar shipcasters and the Triglavian novel transportation technology. Those two things combined together to make the shipcaster. But the point is that the Trig have a much more sophisticated version of that transportation system. What is... Oh, that's actually... Oh, never mind. It's in the game. So yeah. I don't think that they were necessarily like blasted into space and like surviving by their suit by itself. My point is that the suit could easily help them survive the blast, and then the Triglavians pulled them out of there. Okay. I have a big whiteboard. It's full of notes for me to reference. Hopefully. I want a shipcaster for my drive home. So you have to wait 2 minutes? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't think shipcasters have quite the precision. You use a shipcaster and you can appear anywhere within 30 kilometers of your home. Depending on your drive, I guess that could make you closer. Okay. Let us jump into it. I live out in the woods so that can make it really interesting. Pacific Drive in real life. All right, so. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice... God damn it. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and today I wanted to talk to people who are brand new to EVE, coming into EVE in 2024. I've got some top tips for you, many of which will not be you will not hear from other places, so settle in and let's begin. This is a follow-up, or a sort of follow-up, a spiritual follow-up from my video last year, Returning to EVE. Watch this first, and some, as well as my top reasons to play EVE Online and some tips. Today, I wanted to circle back and be like, okay, if you are brand new to EVE, here are the things that I want you to know to set you on the correct course to playing EVE for a long time and being super successful in it. Now, these are not going to be your conventional wisdom per se. You know, don't fly what you can't afford to lose, bigger isn't better, etc., etc. Plenty of people have covered those before. I want to give you the real secrets that get you in the headspace to be a successful EVE Online player. So, without further ado, my first tip, which is a tip that everybody will give you, is use a buddy code. Training in EVE Online takes time, like literally takes time. It is a passive process. So while you always want to have a skill in your skill queue, you definitely want to use a buddy code in order to get 1,000,000 free SP at the very, very beginning. If you've never used the code before, you still can. I have a link down below if you want to use it. Otherwise, other people can have it. Anybody can have it, in fact. If you want to make other accounts, then you can use your own buddy code. It gives you 1,000,000 free SP, which is about 20 days of premium training time or 40 days of free-to-play training time. It is a huge advantage, especially given the fact that you are a newer player starting in a time-gated game that is 20 years old. Which, of course, brings up the question of, like, can I even be competitive in EVE? And that is where this comes in, which is that in any given circumstance, you can only bring so many SP to bear, right? Like, if I am in a frigate, my battleship skills don't matter. So as long as you're specializing, with this 1,000,000 free SP, and a little bit of extra training, perhaps, you can be almost as good, if not as good, as an experienced player in many different ships, especially if you, you'll be highly effective in many different ships, especially if you're willing to have multiple alphas for different specialties. And therein lies the secret. In fact, what I recommend everybody do is once you've buddy coded your main account, go into your account management, get your buddy code link, and make yourself like a half a dozen to a dozen other accounts. I know this sounds like a pain in the butt, but EVE Online is one of those games where preparation matters, okay? What you can do is you can go and make these different characters using a buddy code, and then you go to my website, the Convocation Notion, or anywhere else that you want to in order to get the information, and you want to train the Magic 14. The Magic 14 are the 14 skills that are useful to you no matter who you are or what you're going to be flying, as long as you're flying in space. So it's highly recommended to train these. Not necessarily at the expense of other skills, but certainly these are, you know, if you don't know what else to train, these are good things to train. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all of those brand new pilots, and you're going to come down here to this copy-pasted version of the list. You're going to copy the entire thing, and then you're going to go into your game, and you're going to open up your skill queue, and you're going to, where's the menu? Menu, add skills listed on on Killiport to end of queue, and boom, it'll add all of the different skills as part of the Magic 14 to your skill queue. And you know what? At that point, you can just close it up, let it in the oven, and let it sit for a couple of months. And what you'll end up having is a bunch of blank clones that have 1 million free unallocated SP and 5 million allocated SP. So you have all of the basic Magic 14 that are skilled all as far up as you can as an alpha, plus that 1 million free of a SP in order to specialize that clone into anything you want whenever you want. And so, you know, you never know when it's going to be useful to have a burner account, to have a character that you suddenly need to be able to do a specific task, or even better yet, like, one of the fun things is EVE Online is a game about trust. So maybe you need a character with a whole bunch of clean corp history. You never know. But the point is that these clones can become useful, and you can start it now. Next, the second big tip that I want to give you is learn the UI. I know this sounds kind of simple or rudimentary, but the UI management is like the biggest thing in EVE Online. And to that end, I want to give you 2 different pieces of advice that most people won't tell you. Okay, the first thing is a lot of people like to share overviews, and you can find good overviews to use. But I strongly recommend you learn how to use the overview, how to update the overview, etc. A couple of quick things that you should know as a pilot, regardless of how experienced you are, is first and foremost, if you go into the upper right-hand corner and there's this little bracket, if you go to if you click on it, you see bracket visibility. It'll often get defaulted to determine by selected tab. You can switch it to show all, and that makes it so that everything shows up in space regardless of whether or not it shows up on your overview, which is really, really important because, like, if I go here and I turn off show all brackets, you can see that suddenly there's like nothing here on my screen. And so if this is my overview and this is what's in space, there's a possibility that I could just get locked and killed and have nobody know who I am. Or better yet, if there's a new type of rat or if there's a new type of NPC that I've never seen before and it's not on the overview, it won't necessarily show up. So you want to come here and hit show all, so that way all of the brackets show up. The other thing you want to know is how to add and remove things from the overview. Now, the overview settings have a lot of different options, and I do go into it in a larger video in the overview section. But just on the fly, let's say I have show all brackets, and this overview that I have here, this Warp 2 overview, doesn't have any of the ships on it. But let's say for some reason I want to add this Imicus to the overview. I can right-click on it and go Overview Set Visibility for Frigate and say Add to Warp 2 tag. Boom. And now all of the frigates are added to the overview. Likewise, I can right-click on it and remove from Warp 2 tab. So hopefully those 2 little pieces of advice, how to make all brackets visible and how to add things and remove things from your overview, at least gives you the very basic controls on how to use your overview without becoming too scared of it. If you want more, like I said, I have another video about it, but for now, we got to move on. The other big thing about UI that I want to recommend is use the radial menu. Now, this might be admittedly the most controversial tip in this entire list. Use the radial menu. However, I do make a big recommendation. So the radial menu is this thing that pops out right here when you long press on something, right? When you long click on something. Now, the radial menu is really good for several reasons. One, it remains the same no matter what the thing is, right? So upper left is always going to be warp to, lower left is always going to be aligned to, or up is always going to be like interact with. So if I click on the station, for example, it'll let me dock. If it was a Stargate, then it would let me jump, etc. Right is bookmarks, etc. So there's all these kind of standardized places. The second reason why this is so good is because radial menus have infinite boundaries, right? There's a problem with if I want to right click on this gate and then I want to jump, I now have to make 2 precise actions, right? I have to move my mouse to here and then move my mouse to here. Now I can use hotkeys and stuff, but alternatively I can right click and then I have to select Stargates, then select the correct Stargate and then select jump. However, if I just radial menu off of it and go up, it doesn't actually matter how high up I go. I can go as far up as I want to. And as long as I went this way first, it doesn't matter, and it'll still receive the input correctly. Which makes it so that these different actions are not actually like, it's not like, oh, pinpoint things where it's like I have to pick the thing and then pick the exact thing and, you know, whatever. No, you can just go like this and make a little gesture and it'll work, right? And that's really powerful, especially when you're doing like a warp, right? Like you can just go like that, and that's very quick as a way of giving inputs. You know, obviously this doesn't completely replace hotkeys, but it does replace a lot of your inputs. Getting good at the radial menu, you know, there's a lot of people that hate on the radial menu, and a lot of the reasons why they do, there's two reasons why. One, they didn't get good at it and they don't see its value. And the other is because it's on the wrong, in the wrong place. Before I go into that, sorry, there's one last piece to this, which is that the other thing that's a big advantage, the other huge advantage to the radial menu, is the fact that it allows you to set distances on the fly, okay? Like, if I wanted to warp to this moon, I could just warp to it, and it'll go to my default distance, or I could right-click, and I can go warp to within and select these different distances and all that kind of stuff, right? But with this, I can hit warp, and the further out I go, you'll be able to see that it's filling up the stretch, and I can pick the distance by increments by how far I go here, right? That's pretty cool. It allows me to make it so that, like, those two things combined, by the way, is actually even more powerful. Because if I just do a gesture, you know, depending on how far I go, I may not even make it to a full 100%. Like, that time I made it to 10. That way I made it to 100. You know, whatever. That time I made it to 30. So that way I can warp at just whichever range I want to on the fly. Furthermore, I can actually orbit, right? You have your default orbit. Have you ever had any of those problems where all of a sudden you need to orbit something at a different range than you're used to? You know, the orbit range gets saved per ship class. It's not always that convenient. Well, guess what? You can open up the radial menu and you can, on the fly, select your orbit distance and your keep at range distance. So all of that is possible through the radial menu. Do you recommend changing the reaction time? Okay, so as far as the settings that I recommend changing for the radial menu, if you go into your escape menu, into gameplay now, right? Yeah. If you go into gameplay, under in-flight, there's open radial menu with. Now, here's the big secret. Move it from the left mouse button. I prefer the right mouse button, but some people prefer the middle mouse button or whatever you want. The key here is you want to move it off of the left mouse button. And the reason why is because often you need to click on something with your left mouse and hold on it. Like, for instance, let's say I'm going to be pulling drones out of my drone bay. I click on the drones to move them out of the drone bay, but if I don't move them fast enough, the radial menu pops up. And this is the only experience that a lot of people have with the radial menu, which is why they don't like it. I prefer to think of the right mouse button as being my interact button and my left mouse button being, my select button, right? And I also turn down the radial menu delay a little bit, but not a whole bunch. Now, does this actually matter? Not really, because the cool thing about it is you don't actually have to wait for the radial menu to pop up, okay? Like, if I'm going this way, watch. If I just go radial up, even if I was moving before the radial even popped up, that's why I say it's just a gesture. You just click where you need to go. You just click where you need to go and then gesture in the right direction. Okay? Actually, I need to reset. If you radial menu off of yourself, you can set your default warp distances and such. Yeah. As Neon was just showing. Yeah, if you radial off of yourself, you can set all your defaults. Open your cargo hold, and there also is actually a broadcast radial menu, which is extremely useful. But you have to use the hotkeys. You have to change it in the hotkeys in order to introduce it. That's not a basic concept. So that's it for the radial menu for today. The thing is that as a newer player, if you grow up using your radial menu and using manual piloting, i.e. double-clicking in space in order to go in a specific area, if you add those to your piloting early on, you will develop good habits and be able to perform things quickly and easily later on. That's a big piece of this that a lot of people don't talk about. EVE Online is not just about the development of the skills of your character. It's about your skills too. There's a lot of muscle memory. There's a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of things to develop and a lot of mistakes that need to be made by you in order to make you, the pilot, good enough, not just your character. So that's something to keep in mind. In fact, that is a perfect segue to my next point, which is find your path. One of the biggest things, the biggest reason why people fail EVE Online is that they don't feel like there's any direction. And EVE Online doesn't tell you what is necessarily you're supposed to be doing, right? There's no big raid that everybody's working towards. There's no end game content, etc. EVE Online is a space about space with all kinds of different play styles, activities, priorities, victory conditions, etc. What I recommend to people is make sure to play your game, not other people's. And one of those biggest advice for newer players is don't let anyone tell you what you should be doing in EVE. Find what you want to do in EVE, and then find someone to teach you it. Okay? So, if you like mining, like mining. If you like shooting things, shoot things. There are all kinds of different things to do, but especially as a newer player, the best thing you can do is figure out where you fit, right? A very common thing that people will do is they'll just join the biggest organization, or like they'll ask, oh, what is the most newbie friendly organization? They'll be sent. This often goes to like the big null block groups, which is fine. But the thing is that they're going to teach you how to be a nullseeker, right? They're going to teach you the correct fits, the correct strategies, how to show up, where to get your broadcast from, how to get security and safety, how to move things, etc., etc. It'll teach you for them. But they're not going to teach you necessarily wormhole mechanics or how to mine in Quzxpon. Those are totally different things, right? And so the point is that EVE Online is a space where you create your own path. But but the knowledge for how to do what you need to do is not always obvious. And so knowing how to get the resources and knowing how to get the knowledge for how to do what you need to do is really, really important. So find what you want to do, and then find tools and resources that can teach you it, and people that you can play with in order to do it. Not if what you find yourself doing in EVE isn't fun, consider doing something else in EVE. Consider looking at EVE in a different way. There's all kinds of different ways of creatively playing this game, many of which that most players wouldn't even think about. Which, of course, brings me to my next point, which is use your resources in and out of the game. A lot of people are really skeptical about third-party tools, third-party apps. They want their resources inside of the game. And while I agree with you, the God-honest truth is that there's a lot of information that is not in the game, okay? So I do want to show that there is actually in-game, there is this agency, which does have the help section, which has a whole bunch of really useful videos for you. And there's a rookie help chat in here that is actually fairly useful. And one of the resources that I want to tell you about is that there's a guy named Mike Azariah. I don't know if he's in here right now, but he's a really good dude, and he will answer questions in here, and he goes between newbie systems and hands out free ships to anybody with under a month of game time. So, it's worth keeping an eye out for him. But in addition to that, there's a whole ton of different channels, none of which I have right now, that you can ask for. And there are plenty of people that will, like, if you need starter Amar ships, Mimitar ships, SOE Epic Arc fits, Explorer fits, mechanics explained, like, the rookie help is often a very good place to seek help. Sometimes it gets a little sketchy, but it is really useful. However, honestly, the best tools are outside of the game itself. So we're going to look at a couple of those. going back to my convocation website, we have the essential third-party tools and websites and infographics. So under websites, can I? There we go. Is this going to work? So a big thing, one of the biggest top resources in EVE is EVE University. EVE University has basically breakdowns of every single mechanic, every single event, historical event, every single list of attributes or implants or whatever. Chances are this place has got it, and they do a really good job of keeping it up to date. EVE Uni is also an entity in game if you're interested in checking them out. They actually just celebrated their 20-year anniversary as like a week ago as of this recording. Very good people, very good source of information. In addition to that, we have where is it? We have EVE Workbench. EVE Workbench is the current top place to get new fits and such. You can look for alpha suitable fits only. You can look for specific ships and fits and whatnot and see people's comments about it. They're not all good fits, but this is a great place for you to be able to look at ideas of what people are doing and what's going on. As well as Z-Killboard. Z-Killboard is where all ships that are destroyed basically end up. And this ends up being a convenient place to get information about your opponents and also ship fit ideas. Because no matter how good a ship is, it has to die eventually. Another good one is from the EVE Scout website. Can I warp to this site? As an explorer, which is a common profession for a lot of new bros, this is a website that shows all of the different sites where you can find them and whether or not they're safe. We have Fuzzworks. Fuzzworks is maintained by a former CSM member and has everything from an LP store calculator to help you make the most money from your loyalty points, to an industry calculator, to a market reader. This has all kinds of cool tools to it, especially if you're into third-party development. And yeah, so there's all kinds of useful information there. Then in addition to that, there are some third-party tools that you want to consider. Pyfa is very popular by people. Pyfa allows you to, whatever. Pyfa, which is Python fitting tool, allows you to basically simulate fits. It helps you find perspective alternative modules that might be able to help out. But the biggest advantage over the in-game fitting tools that Pyfa has is the ability to simulate different conditions, be it weather conditions, boosts, support, whatever. You can, or implants that you maybe don't even have. Pyfa will allow you to kind of look at the exact details as deep of a breakdown as you possibly want, right? Like we got to the point where we were able to look at like specific rats and all of their stats versus specific ship with its weapon system and its rats. And we were able to tell like how long it would take for it to kill, how much damage it would apply at what ranges, etc. So it's an incredibly powerful tool for everybody. And Jave Assets is another one that I want to point out. Jave Assets allows you to look at your assets across multiple different characters. It lets you see assets and asset safety inside of ships and other places that CCP or that EVE Online or in the asset browser may not be able to let you find. And it also makes a cool little graph of your wealth, so that way you can see it increase over time. And then the other one is Peld, which is Peld is the Python EVE live damage meters. It allows you to see the incoming and outgoing damage, neutralization, energy neutralization, reps, etc. That is happening to your ship. This is very useful when it comes to determining how effective you actually are being over time, how much, like, for instance, firing outside of your optimal might be having control over you. So these are cool tools to have in your toolbox as early on as possible. And finally, the biggest thing that I want to explain to you guys, the real secret here is that EVE Online is a game about risk, reward, and how trust interacts with that system. Okay? So, for instance, in null security space, bigger things are required. Like, the rats are stronger, the NPCs are stronger. Therefore, you need bigger, stronger ships in order to do it. And if you want to do it more effectively, then you're going to want to bring more expensive ships. Now, while the site itself, you're never expecting the site to kill you, players could catch you and kill you, which means you're putting risk on the table. The more risk you get, the more reward you get, right? You get a bigger, scarier ship that has more DPS. You get to clear the rats better. You get more money over time from bounties, but you have more risk on the table, right? However, trust is a counterpoint to this, okay? Let's say you're ratting in nullsec and it's extremely dangerous because anybody who stumbles upon you could just catch you and bring their friends in and kill your nice expensive ship. But let's say you have your own friends. Let's say you've got a few thousand friends in your alliance, and that includes some people that are on standby, or at least in the area, that could be brought in the event that you become attacked. This is what's known as an umbrella, right? So if somebody attacks you, you've got support to come bring you in. This brings safety. You are now mitigating the risk while keeping the reward, all right? Very basic concept, right? So the point here that I have to make is that trust is extraordinarily powerful in EVE, okay? It is the single most powerful thing in EVE. But there is very little protecting trust, right? The whole point of EVE is that it is about player interactions, right? If someone scams you, if you trust somebody and you give them keys to your alliance and they take all your stuff, CCP is not going to do anything with it. If a director comes back to the game 2 years later and decides to offline the clone bay, destroying trillions of ISK of implants of thousands of innocent people, CCP is not going to fix it. Because that's a valid action. You trusted them. They broke that trust. Trust is the most powerful thing in EVE, but that only works if trust can get broken. So understanding how to trust, where to trust, and who to trust becomes one of the biggest things about EVE Online. Now, a lot of people might have heard that this is Psychopath Simulator, that, whatever. There are lots of good people in the game. A lot of people will recommend join a corp, join an alliance. They'll help you out, and that is absolutely true. But this goes back to my whole thing about, like, you want to find people that are doing the things that you want to do, right? The point here is that you can mitigate your risk through your own measures, right? If you join a corp, the only risk to you is that now that corp is in your corp history, right? Like, it doesn't expose you to a significant amount of extra danger. If you meet up with your buddy for his low-sec fleet in low-sec, you risk it being a trap and him killing you, right? Now, you might trust him or not, but the way that you mitigate that risk is by going out in a ship that you don't care if you lose, right? You control how much you ante based on the amount of trust you have on the situation. The trust manages the risk, okay? And that allows you to build trust, Today I show up with an Algos. If all goes well, then maybe next time I'll show up in a battle cruiser or something like that. Whatever. So the point of the matter is that understand the way that the systems work, read things carefully. Contracts exist, trade windows exist, distribution systems exist. fleets, there are specific rules of what is and isn't allowed to be done in fleets, within corporations, whatnot. And having awareness of that is a big piece to this. Another big piece to this, though, is making mistakes. Be prepared to make mistakes. Do not be afraid as a new player, because nothing you have means anything. Within a month, everything that you have within the first couple of days, your entire wealth could be gained in a day or two after about a month or so of gameplay. Once you actually understand the game in any way, shape, or form, the amount of ISK that you make in the first few days is pretty trivial in the end. So this is a great opportunity to take risks. Don't buy a bunch of ISK. Don't skill inject into a bunch of crazy stuff. Just grab a frigate, a cheap, you want to learn how to explore, grab a cheap frigate and yeet yourself into nullsec. You want to learn how to mine, grab a venture and mine. You want to see how dangerous lowsec is, grab a venture and go mine in lowsec. Will you die? Maybe. Will you learn something? Hopefully. If you do get killed, think about what got you killed. No one in this game can kill you unless you let them. Okay? Understand that players represent a manifestation of risk. Okay? They are killing you not just because they're no good badniks, but because you made a series of decisions that put you in a position where they could do that. And so, focusing on the decisions that you make and what that leads to is how you grow in EVE, right? So that guy kills you. Well, what does that mean? Do you know how to D-scan? Do you know how to do directional scanner? Well, if you knew how to use directional scanner, maybe he wouldn't have gotten the jump on you. By the way, I have a video on how to do the directional scanner. My point is that you'll never know how risky it is if you just stay alone at home in your increasingly expensive ships, doing the safe stuff increasingly more efficiently. There is something to be said for that. Consistent, good build-up, doing missions or Abyss and all that sort of stuff. Very, very cool. But make sure you remember, cheap ships allow you to go do and learn new things, because it isn't just your wallet that you're trying to develop. It isn't just your skill points that you're trying to develop. You yourself need to learn things, right? Don't buy the most expensive Gila. A good example is the Abyss, okay? A lot of people will learn the Abyss by fitting, right? Rather than coming to someone and saying, like, how do you run the Abyss? They'll say, do you have a good fit for the Abyss? Because the idea is that if you have the correct fit, then you don't actually need to know how to do it. This is true about a lot of things in EVE Online, is that if you have the correct fit, then basically the strategy is go there, orbit this, fire, whatever, right? Kill, maybe have a kill order at best, right? But the idea is that, like, the Abyss has a lot of little things that you need to learn about the boundary, about the different rats, about what they're capable of, about how they interact with the different ships. If you try to trivialize what makes the Abyss difficult, you're going to make mistakes that are going to get your very expensive, nice, protects you from the difficult stuff ship blown up. And you're going to blame the Abyss for it. You have mistakes to make in this game, new bro. Go make them. Make them in cheap ships, learn from them, then get the good ships, and then go, oh my god, this is like cheater mode, right? Go out there in Atrons. Get your ass kicked a dozen or so times. Get a little bit better each time. Learn how it is. Be like, man, I almost got away that time. If only I could have kited him a little bit faster. He was just faster than me. And then jump in a slicer and then realize that no one will ever catch you ever again if you don't want them to, right? But if you had just jumped in from the slicer from the very get-go, then you would have never, that very first mistake that you made with an Atron, right? Where you landed on them at 0, so they were able to scram you and kill you. You would have made that same mistake with that slicer, and that slicer would be dead too. Make your mistakes with cheap stuff. Take risks and let the knowledge be your reward. Either way, I hope that you do have fun with EVE Online. If you are interested and you do need more help, you can always come and join the Convocation of Empyreans or reach out to us on our Discord. We like answering questions for new players and, finding new ways to do things and getting together and doing those things. If you want more information, you can always check it out. You can always check out the Discord. The Discord link is down below, as well as that link to get the buddy code for your million free SP. You can always feel free to also email me in-game if you have any questions. I try to check them all out. But with all that said, I have been Ashtarothi, and hopefully, if this is your new year of EVE in 2024, may it be a good first year. And until next time, I'll see you in space. Oh! If you have any comments, if you have any other advice for new bros, if you're a more experienced person and you're still here, make a comment down below. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video of things Ash didn't feel was important enough to tell to new bros. Who knows? All right. See you next time. All right. Woo! Was that good? I felt like that was good. As a topic. Last night I was looking at... Yesterday I was editing the Kato Ash video. And I was looking for, what the next segment was going to be. And I was going through the MPE. And I explained things like the directional scanner and stuff like that. And I realized that, I could edit those out. But, man, wouldn't it be great if I just packaged them together in this, hey, new bro... Here's my list of things that I really wish that people told you from the very, very beginning. So that's what inspired this video. So, sheesh. All right, ready, class? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Sheesh is never going to donate to my stream again. Happy birthday, dear Sheesh. Happy birthday to you. All right. Yay! It's good to see you, man. Oh, slightly related. It is true that thanks to his gifted subs this morning, we are now 4 subs away from getting an extra emote for the channel. I think that's what it says. So, yeah. Let's see. Anything else I need to cover? Thursday. Thursday will be the return of Kato Ash as we do Yeet exploration. Hey! Sheesh, you mad lad. Thank you very much. Sheesh. I don't... Look. I appreciate it. I might be screwing myself here. But I just want to let you know that it is tradition that the birthday boy receives gifts instead of giving them. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we're going to do Kato Ash. We're going to do Yeet exploration next time. And hopefully some Pochfin mining at the end. Oh, wait, no. That was dumb. Never mind. I had a moment of madness. This is a wild bunch. Yep. The convocation could use more members, by the way. We've been doing some more fleets and stuff. I've been trying to get more fleets together. So if you want to roam around and do stuff, either mining or insurgencies or just roaming around doing some PvP stuff. Hey, Danny with the 5 gifted subs. That's Fax, Zell, Troy, Robert Foley, and Bippy. Thank you very much, Danny. I guess Danny gets to weigh in on what the next emote is going to be. Yay! All right, well, that's a thing to do. Thank you very much, Danny. Also, speaking of Danny. Danny helps me make my show possible, and there should be a merch store stuff. I might need to put a link in the description just in case, so you might need to look for it there. But at YouTube, there should be like a merch store thing. But like, here's an example. We have the Pod 7 T-shirt. This is actually my son's shirt. Otherwise, I'd be wearing it. Mine is in the wash. My son loves this shirt though, because he gets to wear it to school, and then people ask him about it, and he gets to tell them that it's his father's YouTube merch. So yeah, he big fan of that. But you know, we also have the Convocation of Empyrean logo and a few other things. So yeah. Where did you find that Upwell clone lore stuff? I'm looking at Universe EVE Online, but don't see it. Help out in blind. Okay. So, the Convocation of Empyrean's notion is... yeah, he gets to be the cool kid at school. Okay, so this is the Convocation notion. There should be a link in the description. And if you go to the lore section, this is where I've combined a lot of... This is where I collect a lot of my resources. A lot of the recent stuff is shared in the ARC Discord. That is true. Like the latest stuff, if you want to get like the finger on the pulse, the ARC Discord is a big one. I don't have a link to that right this second though. But what I have here is I have collected together the disparate information about a lot of different stuff. Not everything is as fleshed out as it could be. For instance, how the insurgency mechanics will be used in the new SOV stuff. Man, that's a whole topic, isn't it? I honestly don't know. I also think that like nullsec is going to first be like non-SOV null, like NPC null. Anywho, so you know, like I have a section on Upwell Consortium, and it is somewhat fleshed out, but I do have other places that are more fleshed out, like here's my page on the death list. So what I do is I take, you know, where does it all come from? Man, like, I'll tell you this. This is why people watch my stream and my videos, unironically. Like, the thing is that we're talking about a decade and a half or more of history where there could be some ticker on some video from 2006 or 16 that ends up meaning something, right? So, it's usually there, but it takes a lot of like digging. As far as specifically the Upwell clone lore stuff is brand spanking new this week, so it's not going to be on the universe page. As I've said before, oddly enough, they haven't done an update. They haven't done a scope news or a New Eden news since December, which is very weird. I expected there to be a scope news or a New Eden news about the events today, but as of right now, I don't think there was, right? Like, we don't have one yet. It didn't happen while I was gone, right? Or while we've been live. Nope. So, this is one of those things that's developing live. So, keeping touch on my streams or my videos, I track this stuff every day. And then of course Arataka Research Consortium, which is ARC. The convoy has left and been destroyed already, Jeff. So, yeah, what all this leads to, you got to also remember that like we're talking about, well, the update to the shooter's happening this weekend, but like the summer event or the summer expansion's at least a month away, probably 2 months away. We are going to start hearing, we should start hearing stuff about the nullsec the summer expansion pretty soon. It isn't going to be that much longer before it's going to be time for the summer expansion. So I think that, like, you know, the lore does a lot of things. It's just usually the player base doesn't pay that close of attention to it. So what you're seeing is these are like foreshocks to something bigger, right? I mean, when the Dreads attacked, nobody had any warning at all, right? It was just suddenly CCP went live and there were a bunch of Dreads attacking a planet. Holy crap, and everybody scrambled to get there, you know? This is just how things work in this game. Will they do the hunt this year? No. I imagine that we will get a new scope video in relationship to the update to the shooter that ties all this together. I left from Arc Discord because what's happening there is beyond my understanding. You know, it's often beyond mine too. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like, legitimately, I've been told that watching my videos is probably the best way to stay caught up with these kinds of things. Or you know, hanging out in our Discord. And staying apprised of this stuff is kind of what I do now. And I've been doing for, God, 14 years? So yeah. But, no, this isn't even that good. Hold on. Where's one that I did do? Did I do Celis Agard? Yeah. You can see here, like, every event in the history of EVE Online that I had until February of 2023. So I might need to update it now. There you go, Titan. So all the way back to 2009. I assembled everything that happened with Celis Agard from 2009. Every video, every reference, every action that she ever took. And it's here to be, because basically what happens is that I sit down and I go, okay, I need to make a video on Celis Agard. And I start pulling this stuff together. And these pages are the result of that. So this is kind of, by the way, if anybody wants to help me working on the Notion, you will get on my super cool list of people that get sent my referral. Like, when people use my referral code link, they get sent to a random referral code as part of my list of people that help make the channel possible and the convocation possible. So if you were to help out, then absolutely you would get on that list and you get Master Arms Cerebral Accelerators and you get your game time paid for. Let me know if you're interested. But, you know, I think, like, for instance, I have, here's information about the Mountain faction in the Caldari State. And here's PKN. Again, this is actually a page that's been dumped on without it being cleaned up yet. Do I have anything about Arcombine? Oh yeah, I just dumped stuff on there too. Now I can't remember which ones I've done a lot of work on. Aegis Edencom? Yeah, you can see this is the Aegis one. So this is Edencom. This is a good one. And then, of course, on the main page, we have lore resources, which I guess I only have. Oh, I have a couple of them. What is this? I might need to look into some of these. No. Including, like, I have this spreadsheet, which is a timeline of all of the events in EVE going back to the beginning of time, literally. I also have like all of the information involving the Triglavians. You know, whatever. Eve Iceberg, which was a good video. Somebody should edit that. I mean, what? Yeah. But I think that should do about that should just about you know, do it for the day. Tomorrow or on Thursday, I will see you guys. On Thursday, I am gonna be back. Well, I mean, barring my son or something like that. You know, the plan is I will be back on Thursday to do Kato Ash. We'll be doing Yeet exploration and discussing more stuff about how to be a successful new player in EVE Online. If you haven't already, you should check out my previous Kato Ash video where I talk about which race you should choose and why. As well as my tutorial videos on everything from ship fitting to using the market to how to make bookmarks, etc. All of that and more is available on my YouTube channel. Go ahead and check it out. But if you have gotten anything useful out of the stream today or out of the video today, make sure to like it. And, you know, even comment it on what you did get. But Thursday is Vanguard. That's fine. Man, I really want to get back to Kato Ash, but yeah, you're right. I reserve the right to shift fire over to Vanguard if that takes it. Do we think that the Eve Gate was sabotage? That is a theory, that the Talican shut the Eve Gate. Or the Yanyong, I guess. But yeah, I guess either way, whatever happens on Thursday, I'll be there. Hopefully you will be too. Check everything out. Hey, Sean, you got a membership today. That's cool. All right, I've been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming, liking, and subscribing to the channel. Do it for the guinea pigs. If you know, you know. But all that said, thank you all for coming. Thank you to my supporters, my top supporters. And you know what? Special shout out to Sheesh. Once again, happy birthday, my man. You are the best. And all of you guys who support my channel are the reason why I can do this. And yeah, just my most sincerest thank you. But I am an Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city